We are thankful to be here today. We are blessed to know the spirit of resurrection and new life in Jesus, in creation, and in each other. In the spirit of knowing and respecting each other, we acknowledge with respect the history, spirituality, and culture of the Mi'kmaq people. May we live with respect on this land that was first theirs and live together in peace.
I hope you're having a good week. Today I wanted to tell you the story of Jesus calming the storm. Now this is one of the miracle stories. We hear it in Matthew, Mark, and Luke. And what happens is that Jesus and the disciples get in a boat to go across the Sea of Galilee. Now where they lived, of course, they used boats all the time. So everybody was very comfortable on the water. Remember that many of Jesus' disciples were fishermen to begin with by profession, so they knew how to sail. But the Sea of Galilee is noted for having really bad storms too, and they come up very, very quickly. And so this one day, Jesus and the disciples were in the boat, and Jesus had gone to sleep when this terrible storm started. And the disciples were very nervous, and they woke Jesus to see if he could help. And Jesus, he was asleep. He was quite comfortable with everything, but he woke up and he commanded the wind and the rain to stop. And the storm stilled and the water calmed. And the disciples were amazed. And Jesus said, "Just have faith. My Father will take care of you." And so when I was reading that, I was thinking about boats because, of course, it's summertime. And we have lots of people in boats here. Some of you may have boats that maybe you have canoes or kayaks or maybe sailboats. And so I wanted to show you a little experiment we can do with boats. So this is a piece of tinfoil, which I'm going to fold into a boat. And there's no particular pattern you have to follow for this. But this is something you can do with just anything you have around the house. So we have tin foil, which I'm going to just fold like that, and like that. And I'm going to see if it will float in this big bowl of water. So far, so good. Now I have some coins. So we're going to see how many coins we can float here. So let's start adding. Uh-oh. See, that edge is getting very close to the water line. I don't know if I'm going to sink my boat. there's water coming in. So that was too many coins for that boat. But that's okay. We can experiment and see if we can change the design or use fewer coins and see if there's a way to make the boat stronger. So let's see how many animals our boat will hold. I have a little set here, of little miniature animals that Thomas and Maggie have played with a lot over the years. So we're going to see how many animals we can fit into our little boat. Not as big as the ark, so we won't get that many in, but we'll try. We have a whole collection. But this is one of the things that I find really interesting, is that with boats, there are lots of different designs, and each one is used for so many different things. So what do you think one of the boats that Jesus and the disciples would have used would have looked like? I don't know, because we don't have pictures, but we can imagine. And so I'm adding my animals. So far, so good. There are a total of 42 animals in this bowl. So we'll see, whoops, the dolphin's gone for a swim. So we'll only get 41 in the boat. Let's see. And let's just add the rest. And see. Oh, hey, look. We can float 41 animals in here. So this is a fun little activity. Just find a piece of foil, a big bowl of water, and some little items from around the house. We've got coins, you could use marbles, little toys like this, maybe Legos. See what you have, experiment, and see how many things you can float in your boat. Okay, thanks guys. Have fun, have a good week. Wash your hands lots and take care. God bless. Bye.
Matthew 11, verses 16 to 30. To what can I compare this generation? They are like children sitting in the marketplaces and calling out to others. We played the pipe for you, and you did not dance. We sang a dirge, and you did not mourn. For John came neither eating nor drinking, and they say, he has a demon. The Son of Man came eating and drinking, and they say, here is a glutton and a drunkard, a friend of tax collectors and sinners. But wisdom is proved right by her deeds. Then Jesus began to denounce the towns in which most of his miracles had been performed, because they did not repent. Woe to you, Chorazin! Woe to you, Bethsaida! For if the miracles that were performed in you had been performed in Tyre and Sidon, they would have repented long ago in sackcloth and ashes. But I tell you, it will be more bearable for Tyre and Sidon on the day of judgment than for you. And you, Capernaum, will you be lifted to the heavens? No, you will go down to Hades. For if the miracles that were performed in you had been performed in Sodom, it would have remained to this day. But I tell you that it will be more bearable for Sodom on the day of judgment than for you. At that time, Jesus said, I praise you, Father, Lord of heaven and earth, because you have hidden these things from the wise and learned, and revealed them to little children. Yes, Father, for this is what you were pleased to do. All things have been committed to me by my Father. No one knows the Son except the Father, and no one knows the Father except the Son, and those to whom the Son chooses to reveal him. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
Hello! Welcome to our first summer of worship. And we've transitioned out of what were fairly, formal, lots of images. Thanks be to God for Barry Payton. And now we're in our chill mode, and we have Locke Williams with us, who is our editor-in-chief. And we're all adopting the more chill need. So summer worship at Bethany, typically, we would be worshiping without our robes, and we would be in a more relaxed mode. Sean would have the choir sitting in the front of whoever showed up, very organic, and we would have lemonade and cookies out on the front lawn. So again, it wouldn't be any Sunday school. It would be a very relaxed, chill setting. And so, given that vibe, I want to share with you some reflections and thoughts on the gospel that Anne just read for us. And it's a remarkable passage because it contrasts Tyre and Sidon, who are lifted up for their affirmation of Jesus and his healing ministry, versus Chorazin and Bethsaida, who are criticized for the fact that all of these miracles and healings and pieces of wisdom are given by Jesus. And as communities, they are decidedly uninterested and not impressed. And Jesus, as the one who has been carrying out this ministry with these disciples and going from community to community, reaching to people who are broken and hurting and ill and lifting them up and demonstrating. It's kind of a two-in-one, because the healing, in a sense, is a miracle, right? But it's also wisdom. It's also teaching, because it's saying to this organization, these people, this movement, you've been caught up. You've been caught up with the law. You've been caught up with success. You've been caught up with looking important. You've been caught up in judgment and self-righteousness. You've been caught up in appearances. And yet, what God has wanted from us is to be a grace-filled, that is to say, unconditionally loving, and to reach to those in our midst who are hurting, and to touch them, to affirm them, to love them, and to bring them into our movement. Moreover, in our meals together, which were a big deal back then, not so much now, but a very big deal then, bring them to the table. And so in our reading from the Gospel of Matthew that we have today, we are told that there are two communities who see what Jesus is doing and they're very thrilled. They're saying, hallelujah! And there are two communities that are looking at this and saying, you know what? John the Baptist started this movement. John the Baptist started this movement. And what he did in performing these wonderful pieces of wisdom is he demonstrated that we can't listen to him. Because look at this man, camel hair and locusts hanging off of him, right? Eating strange food, shouting in the wilderness. I bet John the Baptist was louder than I am, and sounding very strange. He's described as strange in the Gospels. John the Baptist, very strange. And so these communities are looking at John the Baptist and saying, we're not into anything he has to say or do. So when John the Baptist says, if you have 2 shirts or 2 coats, give one to the person who has none, right? And he's saying, bear fruit. That is to say, do something, get involved in the community, do something. And these people are saying, I'm not listening, because this man is strange. This man is odd. And likewise, Jesus has gone to community and has done all these wonderful miracles and healings, right, and wisdom. And these communities look at him and they say, you know what? He hangs out with sinners. He hangs out with drunkards. He hangs out with people, a little off the beaten trail. Well, we're not going to have anything to do with this guy. How often have you heard about someone who is offering healing and ministry and love, and that person is odd, or that person has a background that makes them suspect, or there's something about them, their appearance, right? Their background, something about them is different. And as a result, instead of listening and watching and seeing the fruit that they bear, our reaction is to judge not what they're doing, but who they are. How often have we seen that? And throughout the Bible, we see this all the time. You know, when they're looking for a great king in the Old Testament, right? They go to this household. And the father comes out and says, I have all these sons, tall and handsome and strong. And the message from God in that still quiet voice is, not him, not him, not him, not him, not him, not him. And it's only when the father is asked, do you have any more sons? And the father says, yeah, I got this kind of small boy out in the field. He's got ruddy complexion. His name is David. That's who it is. Or, right, can anything good come from Nazareth? Can anything good come from Nazareth? Nazareth was the community in Jesus' day that was made fun of. You know how we have all kinds of jokes about particular places? In Jesus' time, it was Nazareth. Can anything good come from Nazareth? And when the women, at the time of Jesus being killed on the cross, right, when the women have this vision of him alive, and they go and tell everyone, what's the response? They're women. Why should we listen to them? How about when the Ethiopian eunuch, and by eunuch meaning that his sexual orientation is not like others. He's a eunuch, that is to say he serves the royal family, Ethiopian, again, if in that day, if you couldn't procreate, you were considered to be other than or suspect, right? And the Ethiopian eunuch turns and says, I want to be baptized. I want to know Jesus. And the response is, what? What? My friends, it's time that we listen. One of our newest people who came to Bethany is Cynthia, and actually may be watching. And Cynthia came to church here. She first came to the Walk and Talk with Anne. And she noticed that we were offering all kinds of programming for people very physically agile and active, right? And she'd heard of a program called the Eccentrics. And it was a program based on not great impact, right? And there were these videos, and we watched them here in this room, and we on a big screen. And she said, you know what? We could watch this on the screen. It's very low impact, and we could do it together. So one day I came out to join them. I was solicited and to come in. And you know what I found? I found the room full because people at Bethany were waiting for this kind of program. And there I watched everyone doing the exercise, up on their feet, down. I'm not doing it well. But I remember the woman who looked just like Bev Grant demonstrating it to us. And there were like 50 people in this room. And we were all doing the exercises. And what she said is, you're all in this together. And the last few verses of this text that Anne read to us today are this. For my burden is light and my yoke is easy. Meaning, from a farming example, because all the texts were about farming, right? That the oxen who would have these yokes on them would pull together. And when you pull together, you make more progress. And what Cynthia was offering to us as a community was something we could do together. Something we could learn. Brand new person. But we listened to her, thanks to Anne, thanks to Cynthia. And she brought life. And do you know what else she did? When we were all finished the exercises, which is a combination of Tai Chi and all sorts of things, Eastern, which is lovely. But we were all finished, and we were all kind of looking around. Cynthia said, I want to do a prayer. I want to offer God a prayer. And she said, God, I give thanks for this community, for these exercises, for being together, for caring for each other. And I thought to myself, my yoke is easy, my burden is light. My friends, watch, listen, feel. People are all around us offering healing. Don't pay as much attention to how the person looks or their background. Listen to your spirit. Listen to their spirit. We're all in this together. Amen. Typically at this time, again in a more chilled and informal way, offer prayers. In the summer, sometimes I would call out and say, who would you like to pray for today? What would you like to give thanks for? Are there any people that we need to pray for? And so I invite you at this moment, as you're listening, to think about people and places, you may know them, you may not know them, that you want to hold in prayer. I'd like you to say those names to yourself, to others, and let us pray. So God, we give thanks, first and foremost, for the teachings and the healing and the presence of Jesus. And we give thanks for how life-giving he is in our lives. We give thanks for how he opens to us the possibility that others who come as strangers or others become an angel sometimes to us, or are persons who are channels of your wisdom and your healing. Help us to move beyond our own culture and our own assumptions that are based on appearance, material wealth, power. Look beyond all of it. Help us, God, to see the inner light, the inner spirit, the wisdom. Help us to understand that people whom we've just met can sometimes be people who bring with them an incredible joy. On this day, God, we think of people that are dear to us and people we hardly know who are struggling. God, I lift up to you persons who this week have received very difficult diagnosis. Persons who've had to change their living arrangements. People who are homeless. People who are estranged from family. People hurting. We live in a broken world, and the light that you teach us brings us together. Often, God, we say, why? Why me? Why anything? And it is a mystery. But somehow, in some way, the cracks in all that you offer us feel like opportunities for healing. And when we put our fingers on those cracks, we feel touched, we feel connected, and we feel one. And so now together, God, we say words that bring us to that healing place as we say, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever and ever. Amen. My friends, I don't know how much longer we'll continue to worship in this way. I don't know when we're going to reopen our church. We have a small working group right now developing a reopening plan. I don't know when it will happen. I ask you to pray for that group. There's 9 people. Please pray for them. But in the meantime, I'm keeping my eyes open. And we likely will not be worshiping in the sanctuary for a while. It's under construction. Wherever we worship, we'll need a pulpit. And I was standing in a garage, and I saw this pulpit. And I said to Leslie, who worked there, Leslie, what are you going to do with this? And he said, I don't know. I said, could we have it? And he said, yes. And Jimmy and Glenn went, and they got us a new pulpit. Not for the church, don't worry. But if we worship in another place, maybe the hall, we'll have this. So my friends, our worship has ended, but our service